on for 1 second so you'll know it's me and not some imposter, because you know COINTELPRO is pretty deep with it, and I don't want to scare anybody. So here I am. Welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. And so I'm going to turn that off because I don't want it to disrupt our connection. I know you guys are in here, and I'm gonna give you all a chance to kind of come in and come and hang out. Now, now, one thing I want to mention is the first few minutes of this conversation. I am broadcasting outside of this space, but I'm going to shut off the broadcast in about 5 minutes. And so, anybody who's listening outside the space, if you'd like to join us this weekend, what we're doing this weekend is we're doing something really important, something really valuable, something that I know is going to make a difference for you, something that's going to change your life. And basically, I wanted to basically show you the principles that you can use to make good economic decisions. The way I would coin this phrase is becoming the CEO of your life. A lot of people in their lives, I would argue, don't feel like they're the CEO. They don't feel like they're the boss. They typically feel like somebody else is the boss. I don't know. Give me a yes or no if you feel like you're in control, or sometimes you wonder if other people are in control. A lot of us talk about things like white supremacy, which means that we believe white people are in control. Maybe we feel like we have bad relatives in our family that aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and maybe we feel like they're in control. I know in our house sometimes, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes in our house we have to fight against the fact that we sometimes feel like the kids are in control. I don't know if anybody else has kids and goes through that or not, but basically figuring out who's in control is really tough. And the thing is, at the end of the day, I want you to be in control. I want you to be the CEO of your life. And what I'm going to do is basically teach you in a way that you've never been taught before. I'm going to break down financial principles that you cannot find in any textbook. The reason that I'm uniquely qualified to do this is because when you get a PhD, it's kind of like being a financial Jedi, where you literally have the ability to use the Force and create curricula that isn't in a book anywhere. This isn't just a bunch of information that's being regurgitated from a textbook. These are theories that were put together in a unique way to specifically help solve the problems that I've seen you guys come to me with. So let me know. Give me a yes or no if you can hear me okay. Say yes in the chat if you can hear me okay. And I see Audrey and Francis. Good to see you. But I don't see anybody else in the chat yet. So give me a yes if you can hear me. Okay, good. Thank you, Isaac and Sharissa and Grace and Adrian and Anthony and Bernard and Carolyn. Okay, great, 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 great. And Robin's my mother's name. So Robin, right now you're my favorite person in the room. Area and Norman. I hear you and I see you. Thank you so much. All right, so let me just kind of just in terms of drawing the big picture for you, in terms of what I visualize when I think about what it means to be the CEO of your life. I'm going to use an example with Alicia, Dr. Alicia. That's the black woman I love to death, or I love her to life. And basically we're going to get married, and these are some conversations I had with her about life management. A lot of us struggle with life management. Life kind of overwhelms you. You are constantly making decisions. You're constantly in this space where you don't always know if you're making the right move. You don't know how to create the balance that you need to really understand what the next move should be and should it be right for you. And to make it even more complex is you hear from a lot of different financial gurus and experts who might know what they're talking about, but they don't always understand how to conjoin the complexities of financial theory and financial principles with the reality of life. With the uniqueness of our own human experience. I hear a lot of people that talk about finance and investing as this sort of like perfectly rational decision making process where you have to almost be a robot in order to do this. And I don't know about you, but I don't think anybody in here is a robot. And I remember when I was getting my PhD, I remember that was the assumption that was always made when it came to how these theories were developed. When they talk about how to invest and things like that, they always start off with this assumption that human beings were completely rational, which we know is a bad assumption to begin with. So a lot of these models fell apart. A lot of these financial models don't work in the real world because we're not robots. We are, thinking and feeling beings that have different reasons for why we make certain financial decisions. Uh, so the first thing I'll tell you is, so when Alicia and I were talking about, being the CEO of your life, one of the things I had to talk to her about was I said, one of the benefits that you have of marrying a very strange man is the fact that I have spent a lot of time going to other planets in my head. And literally, because sometimes I feel like I was born on the wrong planet. I swear to God, I see some of the stuff that our people do. It doesn't make any sense to me. I see some of the things that Americans do. It doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think it'll ever make sense. In fact, the more education I get, the less sense it makes. And so I said the benefit you have of marrying a very strange man is that I come up with very strange ways of looking at common issues. So one of the things I said to her was I said, I'm very much aware of the challenges of black moms, especially single moms who are overwhelmed, whose lives are just have so much stuff going on, and I look at that with tremendous admiration, in the sense that despite all of that, I see a lot of women that go on and accomplish great things, and what is interesting to me is that there are sometimes these habits, norms, and traditions in terms of how we manage our resources and how we make choices that can sometimes open pathways, but in many cases, it creates limitations. So, one conversation I had with Alicia is I said, okay, wait a minute. So, you're telling me that you are this distinguished college professor who does this amazing work. She's won awards. She's a full professor, by the way, which is a very big deal. Professors are not created equal. There are different tiers. There's the PhD student, then there's the assistant professor, which is almost like dating somebody, but you haven't actually married them. So the university will hire you, but they're going to probably fire you in the next 5 or 6 years. And then you get tenure, which means they make a lifetime commitment to you. And yes, the screen is going to be blank, by the way. I'm going to have to do audio and do slides. And so what I'll do is I'll pull up the slides so you can have something to look at. But I apologize that I can't do video because the Wi-Fi was having trouble. We got a teenager that plays video games, and sometimes that happens. So let me go ahead and put something on the screen so you guys will have something to look at. I don't want you to feel lonely or like I've abandoned you. Okay, so um, so here, so basically, I said to her, I said, okay, so with university professors, you have the assistant professors, then you have the tenure professors, and then once you have tenure where they've made a lifetime commitment to you, they take you to the next level where you become a senior faculty member, or where you become a full professor, as they call it. And she's a full professor. And if you look around the country, less than 1% of the country has a PhD. Less than 0.1% of the Black community has a PhD. But out of those PhDs that exist, about maybe less than 10% of those PhDs actually become full professors. I'm going to bet it's even 5%. So you literally talk, so I said to her, I said, you're literally in the top 1% of the top 1% of the top 1%. There aren't that many Black women in this country that are full professors. So I said, so what's fascinating to me is that despite the fact that you've done all these amazing things, she finished her PhD while she was pregnant with her second child. She was able to fight through all this nonsense and all the racism that goes on in academia, which you would not believe. But I don't have to tell you about racism. That's probably why you're here, because you've seen the racism in universities and corporations, etc. I said, despite the fact that you've done all these amazing things, you still are doing all the things that a poor single mother would have to do on a day-to-day basis, right? Not that you're better than anybody, but you're carrying the burden of one life while also trying to build another life. It's hard enough to build one life, let alone two or three. So what I meant by saying that was I said I see you sitting here. One minute you're working on this brilliant research paper that's going to literally push the frontiers of social work and in theory and therapy. But on the other hand, you have to stop doing those things because you got to go wash the dishes and take the kids to soccer practice and go and I don't know, talk to the guy about cutting the grass or whatever, or clean the house, or all these other little things, right? So here's what I said. I said, look, you know, first of all, I said I honestly don't like washing dishes. I'm a professor. I don't want to spend my life washing dishes. I want to spend my life thinking, because that's what we're supposed to do. But what I can do is we can come up with a plan. And so part of what I think can benefit us both economically, and this is why things like marriage are so important. A lot of you guys think I talk about relationships because I got nothing better to do, but that's not true. I talk about relationships because that actually should be part of your economic plan, having the right relationships with the right people and maintaining those relationships. Because I said, look, now I'm your teammate, right? So as teammates, I can help you basically run the house a little bit more like a business, not quite like a business, right? Because businesses are completely too rational and non-emotional and non-committal, and they throw out the human element. So we're not going to run it completely like a business, but we're going to run it a little bit like a business. So what does that mean? That means that we're going to take some of the principles from how you run an organization, and we're going to apply those principles to how we're going to run this house. So I said one of the things about running an organization is that the CEO of the organization doesn't do every job in the company. Right now, Alicia grew up in the hood. She grew up around in a traditional Black family, like I did. That's why we connect. And she grew up watching the mom and the mothers kind of take on the burden of everything, right? And her father was a great man. Also, he happened to be a professor like me, right? Which is interesting because we tend to marry people that remind us of our parents. So literally, Alicia's a social worker. My mother's a social worker, and they took a picture together, and they literally look identical. She looks more like my mother than she looks like her own mother, right? So that tells you a little bit about the subconscious mind, right? And I said, so first of all, you don't have to do every job in the organization. I know that because of tradition, because Black women have carried everybody and everything everywhere all the time, right? The Black woman, the strong, the great Black woman. I think the term strong Black woman is a compliment. I don't see it as an insult or something to walk away from. There's no reason to be embarrassed about being strong, right? But there is something about sort of making sure that you are balanced and that you're nurturing the source of that strength, right? If you're strong for everybody else and you're depleting yourself, then you're kind of defeating the purpose of what you're trying to do. So I said, look, okay, you've got the tradition of the strong Black woman in you, where you are there for the kids, you're there for the man, you're there for the pastor, you're there for, everybody else, right? Black women were even credited for saving the Democratic Party in the last election. My God, you carry so much on your back. I said, but to me, if your goal is to carry the world on your back, there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to learn little things like delegation. You have to learn little things like time management so that you can carry more of a load, but you do it in a more efficient way. So, for example, when I first started my business, my goal was to work as hard as I could, right? That's what I wanted. I really wanted to be the hardest working person on earth. So you start off, you're working 20 hours a week, then 30, then 40, then 50, then 60, then 70, then 80. And then you get to the point where you're just getting tired. You're not getting enough sleep. You're not healthy anymore because you're not 25 anymore. You're starting to miss out on life. Even though you're making money, it kind of starts to suck. And then you learn how to delegate, right? And so I talked to Alicia a lot about delegation. And I said, look, let's take a list of all the tasks you have to do, and let's sort them into different categories between, excuse me, tasks that are urgent and tasks that are non-urgent, tasks that are important and tasks that are not important. And the things that are not urgent or not important, let's see if we can delegate some of those things. And let's also remember, I told her, I said, look, I'm not going to wash a bunch of dishes. I don't like to do stuff like that, but I don't have to. But what I can do is that because we picked each other as teammates and because we're both professionals, we can go hire somebody that can wash the dishes. We can hire somebody who can pick up the kids from soccer practice. We can hire someone the same person, by the way, it wasn't multiple people, but we can hire somebody that can wash the clothes. And this isn't something that only rich people can do. This is something that a lot of working class families can do, especially if you look at your time like it's money. If you look at your time like it's capital, as opposed to just looking at something that you're supposed to waste until you grow old and die, then what happens is that you're able to do what actually is supposed to occur in financial theory, which is to reallocate that capital. So it's not like you're just blowing a bunch of money hiring somebody to come and help you as if it were what is called a luxury item, right? Like like the way you spend money at the mall or you buy a new car. No, what you're doing is you're making a capital reallocation. You're taking the thing that is most valuable to you in your life, the thing that you cannot replace, the thing that's more valuable than money, which is your time, and you're simply reapplying it to something else. So I told Alicia, I said, look, the time that we save, not picking the kids up from soccer practice, not having to wash dishes, not having to do the laundry, we can take that time and apply it to being brilliant professors and doing the things that we love. So Alicia has a business. It's coaching with dralicia.com. I don't think she has any space for any more clients, but that is her business. I should shout out her URL. And I have my stuff that I have going on. And basically what we do is we take that time that we would have spent on things that are happening at home and we applied it to other things. And so my point in telling all this story is to say that the way to be successful in general with all of this, when it comes to any form of economic decision making, is to get the tools that you need to think outside the box. That's what this weekend is all about. That's what we're going to cover this whole weekend. We're going to do a deep dive 3 days straight, where we're going to go through a series of economic principles that I want you to be able to apply so that you have the ability to answer your own financial questions in your own way. And so actually to begin that conversation, begin that process. And by the way, so to get the recording, everybody in here gets access to the recording for life. You can log in at blackwealthdecisions.com. That's blackwealthdecisions.com. Those of you that are listening outside, I'm going to shut this feed down because we're actually going to start digging in. You can actually log in and use the password, the discount code podcast 0430. Podcast 0430, all one word, and you can actually get in with a 25% discount. Or you can actually get in for free if you want to join the blackstockmarketprogram.com. If you want to do a trial in that, that's fine too. But this is for the students. But this is what we're going to do this weekend, and we're going to talk. We're going to start off with a really interesting and intriguing question that I threw up on. Well, I didn't throw it up like vomit, but I put up on my Twitter, and the question was one that basically involved this. I said, which would you rather have? Would you rather have $2 million in cash? This is actually a question I saw from somewhere else, but this is a question that I'm going to start this conversation off with. Would you rather have $2 million cash, $4,000 a week for the rest of your life, or receive a perfect credit score? Which would you rather have? And what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a vote and do a poll. And while I put that poll together, I'd like for you to answer in the chat. And maybe if you want, you can give me one sentence why. Which would you rather have? $4,000 a week, $2 million in cash right now, or perfect credit score? Which one would it be? So let me log in. Let me go ahead and set up my Zoom, and then I will take a